Hi everybody, it's Miss Shepard. Welcome to Vidoecast number 4. We are still in our night videocast series. We're reading the memoir by Elie Wiesel, and at this point you all should be about halfway through the book, so congratulations. We are in chapter 5. It's official. I'm going to be looking through a few different sections of chapter 5 today as we move forward. In this particular chapter, the activity that you're going to complete deals with Ellie's experiences in his belief, in his faith being tested. Also in chapter 5, for your activity, you're looking at some really, really dangerous experiences that Ellie and his father have in the camps. I don't say that lightly. And I don't mean to make light of the fact that Ellie's entire experience at Auschwitz was, in fact, very, very dangerous. But he highlights these particular aspects of his experience for a reason, and we're going to look at those experiences today. So the first thing that we're looking at is Ellie's belief and how that's changed in his experience. So I'm going to go ahead and start us off. We're reading page 66 here. It's the very beginning of chapter 5. Ellie says, "The summer was coming to an end. The Jewish year was almost over. On the eve of Rosh Hashanah, the last day of that cursed year, the entire camp was agitated, and every one of us felt the tension. After all, this was a day unlike all others, the last day of the year. The word last had an odd ring to it. What if it really were the last day? The evening meal was distributed, and especially thick soup, but nobody touched it. We wanted to wait until after prayer. On the Appelplatz, the center of the camp, surrounded by electrified barbed wire, thousands of Jews, anguish on their faces, gathered in silence. Night was falling rapidly. There's that reference to night again. More and more prisoners kept coming from every block, suddenly able to overcome time and space to will both into submission. What are you, my God? I thought angrily. How do you compare to this stricken mess gathered to affirm to you their faith, their anger, their defiance? What does your grandeur mean, Master of the universe, in the face of all this cowardice, this decay, and this misery? Why do you go on troubling these poor people's wounded minds, their ailing bodies?" Okay. So you're going to continue on reading on page 67 on your own, but I do think that is a good start to that introduction of Ellie's his conflict that he's dealing with now, and it's an inner conflict where he's trying to figure out how to reconcile his religion, which he's being persecuted for, and the experience that of the persecution itself. In his mind, why not why should he believe, but where is God? And how is God allowing this to happen? If they're here, even in the face of all of these things, affirming his existence and his ultimate power, where is his power in this moment when it's most needed? I think is where Ellie's going with that. So continue reading, and I do believe that you will probably have more questions about what you've read. If that's the case, then of course email me or post to this video. The next thing that you're going to be looking at for your activity is Ellie's experience with his father. And so we're going to be looking through the text as this happens, and you're going to have to scroll a little bit, just like I am right now. Okay. Okay. I'm going to start at the bottom of page 69. So we fast forward a bit. "The SS offered us a beautiful present for the new year. We had just returned from work. As soon as we passed the camp's entrance, we sensed something out of the ordinary in the air. The roll call was shorter than usual. The evening soup was distributed at great speed, swallowed as quickly. We were anxious. I was no longer in the same block as my father. They had transferred me to another commando, the construction one, where 12 hours a day I hauled heavy slabs of stone. The head of my new block was a German Jew, small with piercing eyes. That evening, he announced to us that henceforth no one was allowed to leave the block after the evening soup. A terrible word began to circulate thereafter. Selection. Now we know what that is. We remember what selection is. Ellie had to survive it the first time that he came to the camp. Let's keep reading. We knew what it meant. An SS would examine us. Whenever he found someone extremely frail, a Mussulman was what we called those inmates, he would write down his number. Good for the crematorium. After the soup, we gathered between the bunks. The veterans told us, "You're lucky to have been brought here so late. Today, this is paradise compared to what the camp was 2 years ago. Back then, Buna was a veritable hell. No water, no blankets, less soup and bread. At night, we slept almost naked, and the temperature was 30 below. We were collecting corpses by the hundreds every day. Work was very hard. Today, this is a little paradise. The couples back then had orders to kill a certain number of prisoners every day, and every week, selection. A merciless selection. Yes, you are lucky." "Enough! Be quiet," I begged them. "Tell your stories tomorrow or some other day." They burst out laughing. They were not veterans for nothing. "Are you scared?" We too were scared, and at that time, for good reason. The old men stayed in their corner, silent, motionless, hunted down creatures. Some were praying. 1 more hour. Then we would know the verdict: death or reprieve. And my father? I first thought of him now. How would he pass selection? He had aged so much. Our block leader had not been outside a concentration camp since 1933. He had already been through all the slaughterhouses, all the factories of death. Around 9 o'clock, he came to stand in our midst. "Achum!" Attention. There was an instant silence. Listen carefully to what I am about to tell you. For the first time, his voice quivered. "In a few moments, selection will take place. You will have to undress completely. Then you will go, one by one, before the SS doctors. I hope you will all pass. But you must try to increase your chances. Before you go into the next room, try to move your limbs. Give yourself some color. Don't walk slowly. Run. Run as if you had the devil at your heels. Don't look at the SS. Run straight in front of you." He paused, then added, "And most important, don't be afraid." That was a piece of advice we would have loved to be able to follow. I undressed, leaving my clothes on my cot. Tonight, there was no danger they would be stolen. Tibi and Yossi, who had changed commandos at the same time I did, came to urge me. "Let's stay together. It will make us stronger." So as you all read, what I'd like for you to do is continue on reading about Ellie's experience. He mentions at a certain point that he thinks about his father and what's going to happen to his father. That's something that you guys are going to have to figure out as you continue to read. You also, though, are going to have to figure out what happens to Ellie and how that's resolved. So you'll continue on reading on page... I lost my spot that quickly. You'll continue reading on page 71. Okay. The last thing that we're looking at for this assignment is what happens to Ellie that puts him in the hospital. So he goes through an experience that doesn't go so well for him. And you all are going to read about the experience itself. Okay. What I would like for you to do is you're going to fast forward a little bit. And you're going to end up on page 77 at the bottom where it says winter had arrived. Okay, 77. Winter had arrived. The days became short and the nights almost unbearable. In the first hours of dawn, a glacial wind lashed at us like a whip. Glacial from the word glaciers, like very, very cold. A glacier is a thick, super, super thick piece of ice. We were handed winter clothing, striped shirts that were a bit heavier. The veterans grabbed the opportunity for singering. Now you'll really get a taste of the camp. We went off to work as usual, our bodies frozen. The stones were so cold that touching them, we felt our hands would remain stuck. But we got used to that too. Christmas and New Year's we did not work. We were treated to a slightly less transparent soup. Around the middle of January, my right foot began to swell from the cold. I could not stand on it. I went to the infirmary. The doctor, a great Jewish doctor, a prisoner like ourselves, was categorical. We have to operate. If we wait, the toes and perhaps the leg will have to be amputated. That was all I needed. But I had no choice. The doctor had decided to operate, and there could be no discussion. In fact, I was rather glad that the decision had been his. They put me in a bed with white sheets. I had forgotten that people slept in sheets. Actually, being in the infirmary was not bad at all. We were entitled to good bread, a thicker soup, no more bell, no more roll call, no more work. From time to time, I was able to send a piece of bread to my father. Next to me lay a Hungarian Jew suffering from dysentery. You need to look up what that means. It's craziness. Look it up. Dysentery. He was skin and bones. His eyes were dead. I could just hear his voice, the only indication that he was alive. Where did he get the strength to speak? Don't rejoice too soon, son. Here, too, there is selection. In fact, more often than outside. Germany has no need of sick Jews. Germany has no need of me. When the next transport arrives, you'll have a new neighbor. Therefore, listen to me. Leave the infirmary before the next selection. Okay. So you guys are going to finish reading chapter 5 on your own. I stopped one paragraph away from the end of page 78. Your job is going to be to go through your questions and your activity for this chapter and to respond based on what I've read to you, but then also based on what you've read yourself. And make sure that you use proof from the text. You know what that means. Word for word evidence. Copy the words from the text. Put them in quotations. Make sure that you use that on your answers whenever it's specified so that you can receive full credit. Your assignment will be due when I get back. Of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or post a comment to this video. Okay? I think that you guys are really going to get into this chapter. There are some really close calls here that you definitely don't want to miss about the text. I look forward to our next video cast, and I will talk to you all very, very soon. Okay? Take care.